my name is Jill Bowen, CEO of Northwestern Medical Center and your host of the NMC Health Beat Show, dedicated to discussing important healthcare topics of interest to our community. Today, I'm joined by Denise Smith, Rise Vermont's project manager, and Amy Brewer, a health educator at NMC. And we're going to be talking about Mark Fenton. I haven't met him. I can't wait to meet him. He's a national speaker on public health and planning, and he's a transportation consultant. So we're just so energized about having him come back to our community. So thank you for being here.
Of course.
To talk about this visit. So, it would be great, though, to ground our viewers in who you are and the work that you currently do. And then maybe, Denise, you can tell us what Rise Vermont is up to, and Amy, what your role is with Rise Vermont and the communities as well. So let's get started.
Sure. So I'm Denise Smith, and I'm the project manager right here in Franklin and Grand Isle County. And I oversee the initiative that's happening here with all of our wellness specialists out in the community, the work that we're doing in schools, as well as in work sites. So it's great to be on the show, and thank you for having us.
Yes, absolutely.
Yes, thank you for having me as well.
Yes.
So Amy Brewer, and so what I do with Rise Vermont is a lot of the policy work. So I might look at school-wide policy, and I might look at safe routes to school and how that is connected between a school and a community, and how we're safely moving our kiddos and our students, how they're safely moving themselves to school. So those are some of my projects, and I focus primarily policy work region-wide, and then specifically I work with Enosburg.
Great, thank you. Mm-hmm. Well, there's so much to talk about, but let's start by reflecting on walkability. So what does that mean to the community, and what is your involvement in that?
So we do a lot around walkability because there's a lot that needs to be done, but our biggest work is really partnering with our municipalities at the local level, understanding what already exists, where natural connections are already happening, and then helping to build bigger connections to those already existing assets that exist in a community. And so, you know, our work really lies at that public policy level. We work directly with select board members, planning commissions, recreation departments, to help them understand what is already happening in their community, what assets they have, and building upon those to see where there might be some gaps. We do a lot of gap analysis work in our communities.
Yeah. So really what we're doing is, you know, a walkable community can be a safe community, can be a vibrant community. It can build on economic development. It means that our young people, our older people can get from where they live to a desired place, whether it's the recreation fields or the coffee shop or the doctor's office. And then we're moving ourselves more, we're gaining that health benefit, but we're also reducing, you know, cars in the spaces and short distances. So that's reducing, you know, potential for accidents and all kinds of things. So it really provides a health benefit and an economic development benefit, but also social benefit, because as we're out moving ourselves from place to place, we're bumping into our neighbors and we're connecting ourselves with each other, and we're feeling a sense of pride in the space in which we live or which we work. So it's a really amazing effect when we have a more walkable community.
Yeah, you know, it seems like we've kind of discovered ourselves in the community. It seems like Rise Vermont has helped to, you know, put signage up on paths and get people to places that maybe they didn't even know existed in their backyard. So do you have some examples of some of the things that you have done to make this this walkability or getting people to move, and how close it is, and the, you know, that accessibility and ease?
So one of our strategies, actually, and I think it's been one of the most successful strategies that we've developed, is this show up calendar. And the show ups are not just about the one-time show-up event. It's actually about promoting the asset within the community. So one of the things that we found really successful is doing a show-up at a trail, a town forest. For instance, we've done Fairfax Town Forest a couple of times. One of the hardest things about Vermont is we know that there's nature all around us. There's trails all around us. There's public lands in most communities. The question is, how do I get there? Right? People are always like, so how exact? So you have to drive down down, take a left after the hay bale and drive down someone's driveway. And then on the right past a ditch is a parking lot. It doesn't really look like a park, So trying to find ways to show people what already exists in their community, and then they show up, they do the walk, they feel safer, and then they tell their neighbors about what's happening and how to get there, and so it sort of disperses through this diffusion effect within the community, and so that's been a really successful strategy for us. The other thing that you mentioned, obviously, are the signs, and working with our community partners and municipalities, the health department, to identify locations that might need a sign. We worked with business, Vermont Precision Tools, last year to put mile markers on the Swanton part of the bike path.
Very cool. Very cool.
And so a lot of things happening. We're working with Regional Planning right now, who has a grant to do a better marketing plan for the Missisquoi Valley Rail Trail, so that we can help promote that as a regional asset outside of our borders to bring people here, as Amy mentioned, as an economic development tool. So there's a lot of things happening.
Yes.
And Mark Fenton is part of that larger plan to create more movable and walkable communities in our region.
Yes, I think it's so exciting. And I remember, I think it was last year, I was in Enosburg. And did we kind of rediscover a path that was there, or maybe put signage up? Because I remember a community member saying, wow, you really helped us bring Enosburg alive again. And you were giving out bike helmets, and there was different information for kids, like a little fair. And there was so much energy across that community about moving.
Well, and it continues. So there's the Brownway River Trail, which the Enosburg Elementary School librarian has created a story walk.
I think that was it.
She mows the lawn so that people know where that is, right? And that's a Rise Vermont Amplify grant. So we provide small amount of funding to get that project started, to bring people. It's completely accessible from the school, so people can walk right down there and explore this path in nature along the river, but also read a story. So there's lots of different elements. And then, there's other examples in Enosburg as well, as we, there's a new sidewalk eventually going in that connects the village all the way to the recreation fields.
That's fantastic.
And that allows us to work with Enosburg Recreation to find a way to redevelop those recreation fields so that they're not just ball fields, but they're destinations for people of all ages and abilities. Yeah, so where do we put shade trees, and where do we put benches? And is there a play structure for the little people while the bigger people are playing pickleball? We're bringing pickleball down there.
That is the new thing.
We're putting pickleball down there. Yeah.
So we already have the equipment to do that. So we're really trying to focus on including people of all ages and abilities. And it, it centers on walkability. Can people now walk from their residence or their school to these places to recreate and gather? And it's little bits and pieces, but as we connect it, more opportunity for the community opens up.
Yeah, making the healthy choice the easy choice, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so let's talk about Mark Fenton. Who is he, and why would he want to come here?
Mark Fenton is a national walkability advocate, champion, expert. He's a transportation engineer, so he's got this great transportation background, but has been all over the country, really all over the world, looking at different communities and supporting them as they become more walkable, bikeable, and more movable. And he came in 2014 to the northwest corner here, and he really focused on...
He lives in Massachusetts, just to be ground him a little bit, right? He lives... like in the Northeast.
Okay, good.
And he does love Vermont. So
we made him say
we made him say that.
He helped Vermont.
He helped us look specifically at Highgate, Swanton, and St. Albans City and St. Albans Town, and we very specifically looked at those communities. We stood in those communities. We walked those communities. We drove around. We looked at them together and came up with some different ideas as to how to make those communities small changes or big changes that make them more walkable, more accessible. And the act of bringing in an expert outsider to look at the community in a different way without all the history and the background and the context that we are stuck in, he is able to bring a fresh set of eyes to look at it and say, maybe this doesn't have to be this way. Could we do this to slow traffic, to make this feel less dangerous? Could we change, the distance it takes for someone to walk from one side of the street to the other, so it's less dangerous and they feel less exposed and they're more visible. And he can kind of look at that in a different way. We take what we have and we think it's kind of set in stone.
Sure.
So bringing someone in to kind of help us look at it differently makes a whole new opportunity. And since that visit, Swanton and Highgate and City and Town have really started and continued to make some of the changes that we discussed, or look at their communities in a different way. So this time, bringing him back will help us kind of expand that to different communities in a different way.
I bet he's going to be so impressed. I mean, 2014, fast forward, what is he going to see for a difference? Do you think it's and then also, there's so much to talk about in such little time.
Yeah.
So what, will he come back and evaluate or check in on those communities, or are you going to just have him go to new communities to expand the work?
We want to expand the work.
Okay.
We want to touch on those new communities, but we also didn't want to leave
the ones that have done such great work out. So we're doing both.
Yeah, we wanted an opportunity for him to kind of visit that and see how much we've come really far with new sidewalks and new crossings and new bike paths in all the communities and new grants and initiatives, and so much
the bond that passed in the city for the sidewalks. So everything happened after 2014.
Wow.
And so there's a lot to celebrate. There's so much work that's been done.
Yeah.
And it's slow progress work, but from 2014 to 2019 to see the changes, I think he's going to be really impressed.
We want to brag.
We can brag a little bit.
Deserve to brag.
Those
There's a lot more to be done, and we're excited about where we're bringing him next too. So I'll let Amy talk about where his visit is taking him.
Yes. Well, we couldn't contain ourselves to 4 communities, so we really hope to.
We added an extra day on his trip this time.
Did you tell him that?
Yeah. No, we booked him for 4 days.
Maybe not all of it. So we really hope. Enosburg has really been popping, and we already talked a little bit about it, but there's so much more to do and such an energy there. So we really want Enosburg to be a focus. We have some momentum growing in Fairfax as far as walkability, so we're going to bring him there. There's a growing initiative in Sheldon about designated villages, and so there's some ideas that we want him to help kind of push along. We want to work with St. Albans Town again, because there's other areas of their community that they're focused on and that the community is focused on. And Alberg.
I was going to say anything going into Grand Isle.
Yeah. So Alberg's really moving on some sidewalk enhancements and some walkabilities and some crossings.
They just put in new sidewalks this past year. So there's a lot of energy now that they have new sidewalks. People are using them and then noticing, again, where the gaps might be. Like, is the crosswalk safe to get across Route 2? So those kinds of questions are what are emerging. Once you start building pieces of this puzzle, there's always questions about how do you finish the puzzle, right? Or what needs to happen for this puzzle to continue. So it's been it's fun. It's a lot of it's a lot of discovery. It's a lot of inquiry, I think, in this process. And it's amazing to see how a community changes from this idea of a sidewalk to nowhere to a sidewalk to what's possible and what's next.
That's a powerful statement.
Yeah.
That's so nice. That transitioning in your mindset.
Yeah.
Or the mindset of the entire community.
Precisely.
We think something is possible now, and they go after things and they come together and they
meet about it and they talk about it and they bring awareness to it, and then all of a sudden there's a grant, there's a project, we could do this together, how does this happen?
It's pretty outstanding.
And so, yeah, it's really neat to see what's happening now versus what was happening 4 years ago or 5 years ago in our communities, and the revelation they're asking for more. So that's really exciting.
It is, and this is about community partnerships as well. I know you're here with the Rise Vermont, but you really amplify and you convene and you bring things together, and you certainly do assist. But it really is about the community partnerships and that we work with across all of these communities.
So none of the walkability work that we do could be done without the partnership at Northwest Regional Planning Commission, Department of Health. We work really, really closely together. We each have parts of the puzzle. We work really closely together. Several weeks ago, a team of us from RISE and Northwest Regional Planning and community members and Department of Health, and we went to a Walkability Action Institute where we were selected. There's 10 teams from across the country to really get better at walkability and all the pieces of that. So we're newly trained. We've got a plan in the works for our region, and so those partnerships are essential at making this work happen. Yeah.
So our time is getting short, but is the visit with Mark Fenton, is that open to the public, or is it just defined groups?
Yeah, no. An important part of Mark's...
No, yes. No.
An important reason to bring Mark here is not just to change the municipality, but engage the community, help them, the community members, to see their community differently and help them to see the hope and the possibility. So we want, as we start to promote his visits and where he'll be in the timings, we hope people will come out and engage with us and talk with us and see their communities with us. And he'll be here the week of June 11th through the 14th. And in those communities, and there'll be more information coming out pretty soon.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
Wow, thank you. I can't wait. I can't wait to meet him.
Oh, you're going to love him.
Oh my gosh. And I just think of the work that you've all done, it's just commendable across all these communities. And that mindset shift, I love that. The sidewalk to nowhere, the sidewalk to possibilities. That's what's happening across these communities. So much possibility. Thank you for Rise Vermont in amplifying that and helping folks discover that in their communities. Excellent work. Excellent. I'm Jill Bowen, CEO of Northwestern Medical Center, and I'm so grateful to be having a conversation about movability and walkability with everyone. So stay tuned, more to come. We're just getting started across these communities to make more wonderful things happen, where the healthy choice is the easy choice for everyone. Thank you.